Okay, welcome back. We talked last time about the caste system, and one of the things I forgot to mention or didn't really say clearly was this whole business of the caste system and the four stages of life and the goals in life. They all kind of hang together as a whole, as an entire system, and it's based on this notion of dharma, of doing your ethical duty, doing the right thing where you are, in what stage of life you are, and so on. And if you do that, you produce a good or positive energy or karma. If you don't, you produce a negative karma. Just like if yesterday you wake up and you realize you've got all these college apps to do, and you kind of put it off and opt for binging on Netflix, and you put it off till tomorrow, the stress of that caused that is going to produce more stress the next day. It's a natural thing, and you can't wake up and say, "Why do I have all this stress?" You did it, right? And so, in the sense of the sages or the caste system, rather, you got yourself where you are, not consciously where you are. Like if you're lower class or something like that, or you're a servant or this sort of thing, that you consciously in this life did it, but your soul did it in the last life, and you're just reaping the benefits, just like you would the next day or month or whatever. Next life, this is where you are. And so the idea is not so much that it's unjust, and so you should fight and climb and claw your way to the top and get what everybody else has or something like that. That's a very Western notion, and it's, I think, a good notion, right? But in the Hindu sense, the idea would be to be patient, to be good, to be virtuous where you are, no matter what your stage in life, and let karma take care of the rest and give you the next life in a sense that is better, more beneficial, more pleasant, whatever the blessing may be. So I just wanted to clear that up. So Dharma and karma play a lot in this whole thing. So let's move on to the four stages of life. And they go from birth to death and in this life, and that is a student, one who learns, is growing, young learner, a householder, building a life for themselves, etc. In mostly in the outer world sense, uh, financially, status, this sort of thing. And then comes the stage of the forest dweller, the stage where it becomes more spiritual and inward. And then finally, one becomes a wandering ascetic, or what's called a sannyasin. What's this all about? We'll take a look at it now. So, the student stage in life is where you're really learning about your faith. It might be called like religious education or something like that. Again, this is from a spiritual standpoint. Of course, you're growing, you're learning. You might be learning your father or your mother's trade or something like that. Keep in mind, these roles are very traditional and so pretty much patriarchal as well, right? The young boy is learning the trade of his father, the little girl is helping in the kitchen, type of thing. Not so much today in India, but these are traditional kinds of religious ideas. Okay, so the student role, and it's characterized by learning their scriptures, the Vedas, the very ancient scriptures, and other sacred literature, and growing in their spiritual life. Okay, while they have the time to do it, while they have the time to learn, because then quickly, at the time of puberty, almost in traditional sense, comes the householder stage. One is married, and this marriage is generally arranged by families because it's not just you and this other person, but it's a family affair. You marry into a family, families blend, sometimes not so well, right? So the older, wiser people are kind of have a hand in this at least, right? If not picking the person for you. And so you're married to whomever, and the boy is married to whomever, and this is a time when you are pursuing a career, a trade, whatever it might be, raising a family, enjoying the intimacy of one another as two young people, and we'll get into that a little later with some of the goals of life. So the householder stage, this goes till about, you know, 30s, 40s, that sort of thing. And then by that point, you've had kids, right? You're married as a teen, you're having kids, they're grown and they're ready to establish their own household, kind of an intergenerational household. But this gives the person, the adult in middle age, the time to go off and really pursue a spiritual life, really deep in that part of them. And this is called the forest dweller stage. Now, typically, again, this is for the man to go off and do this in traditional roles, patriarchal kind of society. And so the person, the man, usually would retreat from society, go off in the wilderness. You see here images of people doing all sorts of strange practices and living a very disciplined, ascetic life. Sometimes they would sleep on a bed of nails or practice all kinds of difficult things in order to get rid of the attachments of the flesh, the body, and to let their spirit be free for the next life. Okay, and what would that then yield? It would yield or produce a person, a very holy person called a sannyasin or wandering ascetic. They would come back into society, back even into their families, but they had given up sort of the worldly pursuits. It's almost like a spiritual retirement. One goes off and for years sometimes into the wilderness, the forest, and one comes back a holy person, right? A person who's old, wise, and has something to teach the young, as you see here in this picture. But they've given up all the pursuits of job and career and all that business. So they're not hanging out playing golf at the country club or the retirement home, but they are just a sort of spiritual presence in society. So this is the stages of life, which are also the roles of Hindu life. Next time we'll get into the goals of life and finish up this section.